Jane Slater there with a great report as we look at the NFC East. Eagles and Cowboys tied with Washington atop the division. The football team will be tested tomorrow. They're in Orchard Park to face Mike Robb's Bills. The Washington defense hasn't been as dominant as a lot of people thought, as we thought, but Josh Allen, he knows this still won't be easy by any means.
They got some really good young players up front that are, they're first-round picks basically all the way around. Guys that can get after the ball. They got speed on the edges. They got a knack for getting the ball out. So from handoffs to stepping up in the pocket, just making sure we're good with ball security is going to be a big emphasis this week.
And the Bills defense has some ballers too. They have a great start to the season, started really good out the gate. Mike Robb, their pass rush though is a huge reason why they're having success.
I'm so happy about this pass rush out there in Buffalo. Bills Mafia, stand up. So happy. And it's a big, I get asked this question all the time, like why have I been on the Buffalo Bills bandwagon the last few years? And it's because they're built right. They draft defensive linemen, they draft offensive linemen, but they're built right. They draft from the trenches and develop. And I think it's personified in this year's first-round pick in Gregory Rousseau. He leads the team in sacks with 2 sacks. A hell of a first step. I mean, he's almost in full tilt sprint around the tackle before the tackle gets into his position to be able to block. So the kid is amazing. He also can provide some spy opportunities if you need to spy a quarterback with some movement without changing your defensive personnel. And then last year they spent a second-round pick on A.J. Epinesa, which, I mean, I don't mean to say this. I'm sorry what happened to Tua, but he folded Tua up last week like a lawn chair. Oh, my goodness. And it is, again, epitofied in this guy. Last year in 2020, 291 snaps, only 7 pressures for A.J. Epinesa. This year, 53 snaps and already 15 pressures, okay? To have a jump like that is almost, taboo in the National Football League, but you're seeing it with this defensive front. And if they can continue to get after the quarterback, I think Josh Allen and his offense, they'll get back on track. You'll see my Buffalo Bills going far in the AFC playoffs.
Yeah, your Buffalo Bills better rush the passer tomorrow because they need to disrupt the weapon that is Taylor Heinicke. Yeah, I said it. You heard me right, okay? I know a lot of people look at Taylor Heinicke and still see the undrafted free agent out of Old Dominion. As a matter of fact, Washington offensive coordinator Scott Turner talked about that in his press conference the other day. This is the 3rd time that Turner has had Heinicke as a coach. So no one has shown more faith in Heinicke than Scott Turner, who is now calling the plays. And Heinicke rewarded that the other day against the Giants, or last week against the Giants. Yeah, he made that mistake late in the game, but he more than made up for it in the way that he played in that 2 big plays that he threw to take the lead there. This guy is a guy that people still remember. A lot of times it goes the other way. If you're a first-round pick, you're always considered a guy that's got this incredible talent, even if you haven't delivered on it. This is the opposite. And Washington believes in Heinicke. This is his first road start. They're not worried about it because you got J.D. McKissick comparing him to Russell Wilson, the way that he took command of the huddle late in the game. I think Taylor Heinicke shows up again tomorrow and balls out once again and proves that Turner's faith in him will be rewarded.
Garafolo, you mentioned Heinicke at Old Dominion, and I just love the fact that when Washington called him, that he was back at school before they brought him back to the team. And just look at his course load real quick before we move on. This is what he was taking before he was playing with the Washington team. We got mathematics and nature, number theory and discrete mathematics, applied numerical methods,
he's enlightened,
and partial differential equations.
Yes.
I mean, this would be my nightmare. Wait, Mike Robb, what are you saying about this?
I love it. I love it. See, mathematics is the language of nature. Okay, you have to know that. This kid's enlightened. He just made another fan. I like Taylor Heinicke now. We need to talk. Yes.
Yeah, so I was texting Cynthia Freeland, and I was like, what are these math classes? Like, what is mathematics and nature? And she's texting me back, like, math art and how, like, some sequence that repeats, and you can see it in, like, petals on a rose or whatever. I don't know.
The Fibonacci code. Yes, Jeezy, yes.
It sounded Italian. That's the only thing I could remember about it. Anyway, just thought that was interesting to point out. Deal.
Well, hey, guys, look, I'm the biggest Washington fan, and you guys know that. But this secondary has to play much better. And you think about the task at hand. We haven't even seen the Josh Allen from last year. We haven't seen those weapons and them have that kind of success. Yes, they put up some points against Miami, but we haven't seen that Buffalo offense from last season. Think about what this Washington defense was supposed to be. These guys on the back end, you have to play tighter to your coverage. That was a 3rd and 17 against the Chargers, all right? It's wide open guys running. That's John Bostic. He falls down. Another big-time first down. It's just too many guys running free in this secondary. Chris Harris, the DB coach there in Washington, former player, I mean, he understands the importance of not having guys run through your secondary. And so he's going to have a tough task to try to lock up all of these Buffalo receivers. I told you, Josh Allen, as we mentioned, he's an MVP candidate, and this offense is still looking to get their game to that level of what they played at last year. So it's, you know, we talk a lot about the guys up front. Chase Young, you even heard Josh Allen talking about all those first-rounders up front. Yes, we need them guys, but it's the guys on the back end that has to scrap up and make some plays more so than they've done so far through 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, I should say.
D, I just got to ask you, bro, like, you could possibly be a Hall of Famer. You play defensive back. You got some of the most touchdowns, picking the ball off. You got the most touchdowns as a defensive back. You're talking about your old team having defensive back issues. How come they ain't reached out, man? How come they ain't reached out to you? How come you live right up there?
Man, you know, the NFL's been kind of just, you know, as far as the access with COVID and all of that other stuff, you know, as you guys know, I'm on the broadcast team, so I'm around the team some, but it's just, you know, it's so many protocols you kind of got to do, and, you know, I'm not technically on the coaching side of things, Imrod, but I tell you what, watching the film is some things that I see that could definitely help those guys out.
Also, I want D-Hall to stay right here on this show with us when we're back in studio, especially, gang. That Washington defense, we've seen them have some issues against some mobile quarterbacks in the past two, taking on Josh Allen this week, but we saw Daniel Jones cruise around last week on them, 9 for 95 and that touchdown. He's been putting up the stats, but is he a wise investment for your fantasy team? Adam Shark Rank is making deals, and the Ravens did what so many can't. Beat Patrick Mahomes. Garafolo explains how the defense got it done. Mic drop.